Thanks for inviting me to speak today. I'm going to talk about HIV post-exposure prophylaxis in the era of PrEP. I'm going to do an overview of PEP and PrEP, review the guidance on PrEP use in the era of PrEP, and then discuss some lessons from PrEP that we may use to improve our PEP use. So as we know, antiretroviral therapy is extremely effective in HIV prevention, first for PEP and now for PrEP, and in the very near future, long-acting injectable PrEP. Understanding how people move from PEP to PrEP is needed and not simple, and really due to a lack of data. As you can see from this slide, PrEP use has increased over time. This is use from the 56 Dean Street in the UK, and you can see from in July 2017, as PrEP use sharply increased, PEP use declined. But PEP is still needed, and the reasons for people needing PEP in the era of PrEP include that they are on PrEP but have missed tablets, or simply don't want to take PrEP. They may not see themselves at ongoing HIV risk, or afraid of stigma from taking prevention pills themselves. For PEP, effectiveness correlates with speed of uptake following a potential exposure to HIV. And in the UK, the average time from sexual exposure to first dose of PEP is 24 hours, and this is not improved despite multiple national campaigns. Most PEP guidelines recommend 3-drug antiretroviral therapy that's taken for 28 days and could be taken up to 72 hours after sex. But where is the evidence for this? Well, because of ethical and operational challenges, no randomized control trials have been conducted to test efficacy of PEP directly. Just one case control study has been done and demonstrated an 81% reduction in the odds risk of HIV transmission among healthcare workers with percutaneous exposure to HIV who received AZT. There's been many macaque studies, and overall they demonstrate that PEP is effective if initiated within 72 hours of exposure and continued for 28 days. Trials of 3 days or 10 days of PrEP were not protective, and the window for exposure is smallest for IV exposure, then anal exposure, and widest for vaginal transmission. As we know, PrEP is very effective, both for daily and on demand, and randomized control studies in both have shown an 86 relative reduction risk of HIV. But adherence is not always good, and therefore there is still a place for PEP. This is just a reminder of what the EPIGAY regime is, on-demand regime is. And as you can see, it's 2 tablets before sex, 1 after, and then 1 further 24 hours later. So this really is bridging the paradigm between PrEP and PEP. So what adherence to PrEP is needed? And data comes from clinical trials of PrEP. And for men, the EPIGAY study with on-demand PrEP showed 2 doses before and a single dose for 2 days afterwards sex is sufficient. Or the IPREX study showed that for daily PrEP, 4 doses in the past 7 days was sufficient to protect against HIV. For women, it is less clear as there have been less studies, and also more tablets are needed. So the Partners PrEP study that showed that 6 days before, 6 days of doses in the previous 7 days was necessary for efficacious PrEP. And unfortunately, no on-demand PrEP studies have been carried out in women. Drug level data in the vagina and cervix tissue show a slower uptake of drug compared to rectal tissue, suggesting that more drug is needed. But where does drug need to be for PEP? Does it need to be at the mucosal barrier, in which case you do need drug levels in the tissue? But equally, does it need to be in the lymph nodes or blood, where protection up to 72 hours is where the action is? So that we are faced with unanswered questions in daily practice of prescribing PEP in PrEP. For instance, for men, if they had 4 doses in the past week, but these were at days 5, 6, and 7, would you give more PrEP or PEP? And for on-demand PrEP, a person has had 2 doses before sex and only 1 dose afterwards and lapsed the 2nd dose. Do you really need to have 28 days PrEP here as well? And again, one tablet before and 1 after. At what point in that window period of exposure to first dose do we say that PrEP can't work. And for the recommendation for women, 7 days PrEP before and 7 days after, is that really needed? Does that put women off taking PEP and PrEP? So recommendations for starting PEP in PrEP users are few and far between, including the WHO don't have any guidance on this currently. The UK PEP guidelines published in 2021 do, and are very conservative. So for anal sex and daily PrEP, if someone has had less than 4 pills in the last 7 days, then they're recommended to take PEP. And for on-demand PrEP, if they have missed any dose, then they need to take PEP. For vaginal, it's much stricter. The recommendation is to take PEP if there has been more than 40 hours since the last dosing, or if fewer than 6 tablets have been taken within the previous 7 days. And for everyone, PEP is recommended for 28 days. But in reality, in clinic, does this really happen? We don't think it does. Some clinicians are suggesting a double dose to get the levels up quickly, or to restart 2-drug PrEP immediately. The UK PrEP guidelines are currently under development and are attempting to be more pragmatic, and we will see how they develop. So can lessons from PrEP be learned to improve PEP efficacy, such as reducing the time to first dose, reducing the course of PEP, or discussing whether 3 drugs are needed or 2 drugs, such as used in PrEP? So first off, time to first dose. We know that people take PrEP at home and manage themselves there, so why not PEP? We carried out a randomized control study of medium risk MSM who were given 5 days PEP to start at home if required. And what we showed that the average time from exposure to first dose in the home PEP group was 7.6 hours. And for the standard of care group to get PEP from routine services was 28.5 hours. So we showed a reduction of almost 21 hours in time to first dose. And can PEP be taken for less than 28 days? So for men with the IPIGAY study, you would think, yes, but we need more studies, but there does seem to be a rationale for it. However, the MCAP data does suggest that 28 days is needed. There is therefore a loud calling for an efficacy study on the duration of PEP. And finally, can we have 2-drug PEP? The rationale for 3 drugs is that it works for starting antiretroviral therapy in HIV infection. Therefore, this should translate to PEP as well. But in more recent years, 2-drug therapy for antiretroviral initiation in HIV infection has been shown to work in the form of dolutegravir 3TC. So should 2-drug PEP be explored again? If it was shown to work, it would mean that people on PrEP could self-manage from home, which would make it delivering and possibly efficacy much easier to deliver on. So in conclusion, PEP and PrEP are becoming much closer concepts. When to initiate PEP needs review on an individual basis, based on PrEP adherence, the type of sex, and hours since exposure. But more data is needed. And currently, a full 28 days PEP is still indicated. I'd like to thank the organisers for inviting me to speak today, and thank you all for listening, and for all the participants who've taken part in all my studies. Thank you very much.